Watching somebody drive a Diablo in traffic is sort of like eating a Snickers bar that's still in the wrapper. We're going to go through this Cayman. Do you think that with this first generation Porsche intentionally kept it ugly? Why didn't somebody drive it if it's such a great car?
Maybe they had a 4C and they
Oh, if
said,
they had a
"No."
4C, they were never touching this thing. Do you think a
No,
car like this is going to ruin you financially?
you just hope you get lucky.
That's the prayer of the car guy.
Yeah.
Please,
Yeah.
Lord, let me get lucky. Welcome back to Bid Left Nut, the car show, talk show, shit show, where we discuss car auctions and what cars are really worth. We're always asking the question, how much? And would you give one of your nuts for that car? I have a really special guest in the studio today. It's Evan from Street Park Everything. Evan, how's it going?
It's great. Happy to be here.
Thank you for coming out on a rainy night.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about Street Park Everything.
Yeah. So I started a few years ago living in Boston and walking around and seeing interesting cars. It's a quick way to just
Buddy,
observe the neighborhood.
after this show,
Yeah.
it's going to blow up.
Who knows, right?
Right. Tell me one car that you really thought was cool.
Yeah, sure. If you stop there and get right in the top, there's a that orange McLaren Artura. That was cool. February of this year in 2025, in Brookline. I thought it was interesting. It fits the theme of the page very well, being a modern sports car in snow, slushy, with a ski rack on it. Just fits the vibe of street parking your car.
Were there skis actually in the rack?
There were.
Were there snow tires on the car?
I don't know. Try and take the pictures from afar. Well, should look natural as if you just ran across the car randomly in the street.
I was going to ask you about the Dodici.
That was the first one I'd seen in person. This was in early November. It didn't have a dealer plate, so it's somebody's car.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like the front is too long. It feels like it fits its size well. I feel like the F12 is too big.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bulky.
Did you look at the front and say, Dodici? It only looks like Pato.
There's definitely 12 in there.
Let's jump into today's show. We're calling it RADwood 3-Car Garage. What excites you about the RADwood era cars?
Aside from the Diablo on the screen, a lot of them are very affordable still, right? When you're thinking of your E36s or cars of that generation, late 90s, they're vintage and they are somewhat still accessible.
We called this RADwood, but we know that you and I each picked 3 vehicles, and I think only like 60% of our picks are RADwood. So we've got this Diablo, which is straight up RADwood, right at the end of RADwood. This is 97. All right, before we dive into the RADwood cars, I have to ask you, this past weekend, we had the final Formula One race of the season. I know you're a McLaren fan. What are you feeling?
I feel good. I'll be honest, I didn't pay attention this year.
Wait, your team's winning like all year long and you're not paying attention. My team sucks all year long, Ferrari fan. And I'm watching every minute of it, every free practice, every interview. Why not watch? McLaren's killing it.
I don't have an excuse for that.
Speaking of RADwood, though, we know that Lando, he's got plenty of older sports cars.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel good about that. It feels good that by all accounts, a car guy won. And being a younger guy who has a Miura, Carrera GT.
I think he also has a Le Car.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's the agenda for today. I know you're like fan number one.
I was watching this instead of McLaren.
Awesome. I love it.
Obviously.
I love it. We're going to go through last week's roundup where we look at how people performed in predictions. And I know you are one of our guest predictors.
Yes.
It was me versus Johnny Miata. Johnny Miata is not with us today. He's taking the day off. It was you versus MK Pollard. And if you're out there, anybody, and you want to make some predictions with us, just leave a comment below. We'll get in touch and you can give us your predictions before we air. And here's the stuff we're going to go through today.
Yeah.
The Diablo is just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to go through this Cayman, which is uglier than a 911. We're going to go through this AMG GTC.
Horrendous.
I think it's kind of menacing, though. This is not a RADwood car. We're going to see this 944 Turbo, which is on Bring a Trailer. Low mileage. It's at 39,000 miles.
Yep.
We're going to make a prediction on this. We got a Typhoon.
Yeah.
Baby got back. And the last one, this was your pick, and I'm not sure what you were thinking, but another GMC. It was completely coincidental.
Well, you'll find out when we go through it.
Okay. All right. So as you know, we're going to make predictions at the end. So if anybody wants to see those, hang on till the end. First up, though, we're going to talk about how we performed last week.
Sure.
Do you remember this Nardo Gray RS6 Avant?
I do. I do. We were just all very far off.
Not all of us.
Well,
one of us was really close. Who was that?
Yeah, that was you.
I was 2.5% off.
I would expect that this is your show. You should not be bad at this.
But do you say that like the numbers are fixed or something? No. But the owner had put in like 20K of aftermarket goodies. How did you perform? So we just have you abbreviated here as SPE. That's street park everything. You came in at 132. You weren't that far off.
No.
Under 5%.
Yeah.
Johnny was about 10%, and MK Pollard, he was at 9%.
Yeah.
On the Avant. We also saw this E63S AMG. It sold for $57,000. I was really far off. I said 44. I was like 22% off. Johnny came in the closest, and he wasn't even that close.
Right.
He came in at 44. You came in 42.5.
Yeah. I just had no idea that it would get up that high. I thought being a 2014, so obviously many years between then and now that these cars have been
I guess when you're 22 years old, then everything seems 10 years seems like a long time.
I know. Yeah, no, 10 years, that's huge. 11 years.
Yeah. We had another E63. This one was a 2019. And look at you. You crushed this one.
I thought I didn't know the market, but maybe I do.
Yeah, so if anybody hasn't seen that episode, last week we looked at the E63, we looked at the RS6, and we also looked at the M5. These are insane because they're 600 horsepower and 200 miles an hour worth of grocery getting fun. And what about this 2020 M5 comp?
Really overshot it on the bidding.
Yeah, I was worse than you.
You're getting a lot of car for 67.
You are. Do you think a car like this is going to ruin you financially if you own it for more than, let's say, 6 months?
Yes, especially if it's the current generation and not the previous that had a stick. You hope you can buy the car and sell it a couple grand less than you purchased it, and your out of pocket is whatever maintenance it is, and you just hope you get lucky for however long you have it.
Right, that's the prayer of the car guy.
Yeah.
Please, Lord, let me get lucky. All right, and so let's see who won this. No surprise to me. I won, but only by a tiny margin. You came in second.
Yeah.
You were half a point behind me. You were ahead of the other losers.
Right.
So MK Pollard, Polaroid, he came in at third. And Johnny Miata, also known as Johnny Horsepower, he came in fourth. So the first car we're going to talk about is the Lamborghini Diablo VT Roadster.
I came prepared from all my viewing of the show.
All right, this is a monstrous looking car. Those seats, those are thrones in there.
Go back up. What do you think of that shifter? Does that not look like the most? It looks like it would fit your hand, but it just doesn't. I've never thought that it fits the interior of the car.
It actually looks like a boxer
like
glove.
It's good to drive with.
There's some stunning photos here in this auction. The Diablo VT, this was one of 466 produced between 1990s and there's been a ton of service in the past 6 years. A new clutch assembly, the flywheel was machined, they performed a major service. So this is going to be huge for the buyer. That just saved them like 30 grand.
And that's all the stuff you want done. So you're essentially getting as new of a car as you can. And with only, 15,000 miles on it?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what you want as a buyer.
Diablo out in the desert, it lands like a spaceship, but it maintains like a trophy wife. I mean, you're not getting out of this thing cheap.
No.
But the prices on these have really increased.
Yes. There was one that sold recently that it was 9,000 mile VT sold in October for $539. And that also had a lot of work done to it recently. So I'm very curious to see if this matches that in that 500 plus category.
What do you think of the blue badge?
I love it. I think it looks great. I think it sets the car apart a little bit.
For me, being an Italian guy, I would wear that around my neck to ward off the evil eye, the malocchio.
When you get your Diablo, you can do that. I love the wheels on this too.
You do? I think that was a 1 year only option.
Yeah.
We're going to get to those in a second.
Yeah. I think the chrome fits it. It's very RADwood. Usually the chrome looks tacky, but I think it looks good on this.
Yeah. I mean, if you're worried about tacky and you're driving this car around, and I'm not trying to say that it's a bad car. It's just we know Lamborghini has a presence when it arrives in the neighborhood.
And what do you think with on the Roadsters, how the roof comes off but mounts on the back of the car?
Can I tell you a secret?
Sure.
I actually want to try and figure out a way to make that work on my 4C because the carbon fiber top comes off, and I want to find a way to make it mount like that because I just think it's so cool.
Can you do any?
Have you ever seen when people take the rear bumper off of these things?
No.
They look fierce. It's taking like such an aggressive car and making it look wild.
Because it cuts right into the wheel.
It does, yeah. You know, there are like 325 photos here, and I think it's like enough is enough. And I know you're a baseball guy. There was like a game in the late 90s where the Red Sox played the Indians and they won 27-5. It's like, enough is enough. You guys are winning. We understand. It's the same with the photos. 300 plus photos. We get it. The car is beautiful.
It's a little bit like Bring a Trailer, because you scroll down to the auctions and it's plus 1,000 auctions. Like, we get it. There's a Nissan Sentra that sold the other day. We need some sort of, policing of what's on this website. You've got this red Beetle,
Fox Derby over here.
Yeah, I mean, they have. We have this.
Got a 996 over here or something.
Yeah. We have F1 cars. It's a 1-to-1 replica, but there's no engine in it.
Right.
Sweet. At best, you get better stuff on Facebook than this.
I bet the BTU energy value of those tires exceeds the value of this vehicle.
I'm more interested in the Camry or whatever's next to it. Scroll down. 20. It's in a parking lot. I don't know who's.
It's in a gravel parking lot.
Yeah. Hopefully I didn't do a burnout leaving there, chipping up the underside of my new car. But I mean, there's just too much crap on this website. You can't have the $500,000 projected sale Diablo and on the sidebar, while you can see the Diablo, the Corvette's there for $6,000 in a gravel parking lot.
Do you know, at the time when I went to sell my E36 M3, Bring a Trailer would not take it. They said it was too common a car.
Too common. How did you sell it?
I put it on Marketplace.
Perfect.
Somebody came that afternoon with a shoebox full of cash.
Yeah.
I didn't ask questions. Well, with the Diablo, from what I've heard, is expect exhilaration interrupted by very expensive periods of extended Italian vacation. I don't want us to harp on the lack of reliability of these cars, because I think that's missing the point of a monster like this.
Nobody's expecting reliability buying it. So
I know you've got a number in mind, and we're not going to reveal that yet. At the end of the show, we're going to talk about what we think this thing's going to go for. But if we look at it right now,
340 with 2 days left.
We also have up here a couple of comps.
Yep.
So this 9,000 mile Diablo VT in yellow, which that's the color I would get.
Scroll down. Is it? And this sold a month ago, 2 months ago,
for $540,000.
I think that my guess is low looking at this, because this has 9,000 miles, so almost half of the other one. And this was 539.
But this is a 99, which is the facelift. They went to 2000.
Okay.
So maybe there was a premium for that.
Go back up to the toolkit. Look at that. Look at the coloring on that. That alone, that tells you it's Italian. But you got this blue leather toolkit. It looks like a Renault.
Oh, don't say bad things like that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Nobody's ever touched those.
No, because this car's never broken down.
The work this car is going to need, those tools are not going to be able to fix it.
Yeah. We had this 94 Diablo VT. This is I think the non-facelifted car.
What do you think of that wing versus the other one? On the red one that we're looking at and the yellow one, it swoops down a little bit. This is straight across.
I prefer the other. I prefer the newer
I agree.
one. And we should also take a look at some market numbers. If we look at the price, there is a massive spread, but we see an upward trajectory. Without question.
Scroll down just a little bit. Well, I want to see what the bid is on that 01, the blue one. It got up to 575 and didn't sell. Granted, it's an 01 6.0.
We did have a sale recently at 600. So, but this was that eggplant one. I think that's
but nearly identical, right? Yeah. In terms of spec, 01 VT 6. What's the highest one up on the scale there?
Yeah. So
890.
And this sold just a month ago, right? The only one in green.
Compare you could put this in the living room and just sit in it to watch TV, because you're not going to drive it.
That's right. Look at that.
Yeah.
I don't think it would fit in my living room. This car
that's bigger than my whole apartment.
Yeah.
That's the good shift knob for a Diablo.
Hey man, did you check out this?
I did not watch any of the videos on this.
First of all, this goiter. Yeah. So this driving video. So watching somebody drive a Diablo in traffic is sort of like eating a Snickers bar that's still in the wrapper.
Yeah.
I mean, you understand what it's supposed to be like, but it's not the full experience.
He doesn't want to spin out the Lando F40 and crash it and get that on video and then not be able to auction it.
Right.
It's probably some guy at the shop.
Hey, and as we switch over from that Lamborghini to this Cayman, I have to ask you a question. Have you ever subscribed to our channel?
I will.
You will?
I will. I will now. Yeah, okay. I have a reason to. I've been here.
All right.
I know what it's all about.
I hope other people subscribe as well.
You have to. Everybody
free.
should. Yeah,
it's free. Yeah, just like our opinions.
Right.
So let's talk about Let's talk about this
with the wing up.
With the wing up, what do you think? So, former owner.
Yeah, absolutely. So unlike the Diablo opinions, I actually have, these are founded. 2006 Cayman S, 987 first gen, in the launch color, cobalt blue. I had it for 3 years. I dailied it. I put, I don't know, 37,000 miles on it in that time, and it was fantastic.
Did you have any monumental or catastrophic issues with it?
No. I think the most expensive thing I had to do for the car was not a car's fault. It was someone else's fault who sideswiped the door. It was parked. It was street park. It looks cool to have your fun car parked on the street. If I just stayed out driving another 15 minutes, who knows? The only real concern with these is the potential of bore scoring. I think the IMS has been
bore scoring is when I talk for too long, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with these, the IMS has been revamped, so it's the same one, I think, is the first gen 997. It would have to be same year, but it's not the one from the 996 that has all the issues. So you're clear from that.
Do you know what color this car is? It's meteor gray.
Perfect.
When you think of a meteor, what's the first color that comes to mind? Is it gray?
It's a different gray than this.
It's not gray.
It's meteors like a tan.
Meteors are like on fire.
Well, I'm thinking of the rock when it lands.
You've never found one. You've never found a meteor.
When you see like Roswell in these pictures in the desert, right?
No, this car isn't, other than the right front corner, I don't think there's a flaw on the exterior of this car.
No, aside from them drilling the bumper.
Okay, that is unfortunate.
Plate. But other than that, yes, you're correct. It's a very good looking car. It looks every bit of a 15,000 mile car. It's perfect. You know, the only thing I'd consider if I were the one buying this is I would just have the engine scoped, and it would probably cost around $700. It's not cheap, but if you're buying a car that's presumably 20 to 40 grand, if I had to guess.
You're going to guess.
I will guess, but the main concern with these cars with a low mileage one is that you don't know if bore scoring potentially could show up or not.
Mm-hmm.
It was most prevalent in 06 and 07 models.
Mm-hmm. And this is an 08?
Yeah, it's still a .1. And most cars show it early. It's like a coin flip, but you're only going to hit it on like 3%. So you're either going to get it and it's horrible, or you're never going to have it happen.
Right. It's like chlamydia.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That you can get rid of. The bore scoring is going to be much more expensive.
I like the interiors on these. I mean, so
Yes.
It's straight out of the 997, right? I mean, there might be some slight differences. The vents are different, but other than that,
I think just that and the gauges, because the 997 will have 5 across and this is only 3. I loved this look. I like the vent at the top you can see on the gauges. If you go back one, it's like a mesh almost above the gauges in the top of the picture. Doesn't really serve a purpose other than collecting dust behind the gauges, and you can't clean it.
You know, I can't say anything negative about this car, so I'm just going to throw shade at the owners of these.
Sure, yep.
So,
as you should.
Every person who buys a Cayman, did they actually want a 911?
I can only speak for myself. I don't know. At the time of me looking, could you get a 996 for 30 grand? Yeah, you still could. Could you get a 997? Probably not. Maybe a base one at 50.
I don't know if you ever could.
You get a base one at 50, maybe.
You think there's a point when you could get a 997 for 30 grand?
No.
So you're lying?
I'm not lying.
I think you just said that. Do you think that with this first generation, Porsche intentionally kept it ugly just to preserve 911 sales?
I don't think it's ugly. I think it looks unique enough unto itself where it doesn't look like they just put a top on a Boxster. It doesn't get confused with the very hideous first-gen Audi TT, which is a very similar body setup and style.
Super
and
hideous.
Size.
I hate all generations of TTs. I'm sorry. I really do.
I do too.
All right, so somebody paid, let's say, 60 grand for this one. It was new.
Yep.
It's going to sell probably around 40, but we're going to get to our exact predictions later.
Absolutely.
It's worth every penny. So this is one of the cars that you suggested for today's show.
Yes.
We had a couple of comps that we can look at.
A lot of comps.
But
what I've noticed with the Cayman is, especially having a higher mileage one and selling mine earlier this year, pricing for low mileage ones is definitely on the rise, where you can see the few that you're looking at. Like that's a good one. Stay on that. That's exactly the car that is not mine, but this is exactly the car I had. 06 S 6-speed, sold for 45 and change back in August. It has the Cayman S script on the side, which mine did not have. If you're in the market for one, could you get one with a little bit more miles for way less than 45? Definitely. But if we're looking at one that has 15,000 miles, this gray one that's up for sale right now, would it get up there in price? Potentially. There is a ceiling, though.
There is.
911s put that ceiling there because someone who's out to buy a Porsche and wants to get a 911 and can't afford it, most likely will look at Cayman or Boxster.
Tell me, what do you think of the look of the car?
It's great.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of the look of the car. You have 2 trunks.
No. We're not talking about practicality.
I know, but
Judge this on its appearance only.
I think it looks great.
Before we move on, in a span of a year, that's like an $8,000 jump.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No, not at all. I didn't have that experience, but I was very happy with the purchase and sale of mine.
Sure. You're not really good with money, though.
Not with cars.
I want to talk about this car being a 2008, 18 years old, and has 15,000 miles on it.
Yep.
Why didn't somebody drive it if it's such a great car?
There's so many answers to that. We don't have enough time. You could have a full collection. What if this is one of 30 cars?
Sure. I guess that's possible.
Right.
What if somebody were in a coma?
Sure, yeah. Maybe they had a 4C and
if they had a 4C, they were never touching this thing. Wait, what did you say though? When you drove my 4C, you said, do you remember?
Oh,
you said it made your Cayman feel like a Camry.
Yeah, I did. I did. It also made my 996 sound like a vacuum cleaner. It's a lot more fun, but you feel the constant state of fear that this is going to blow up at some moment.
Yes.
But it's excitement. It's a roller coaster in a parking lot. You're like, this could fall apart and be horrific.
Yeah.
Or this might be great.
Hey man, so like, what is the quickest way to make a Cayman look good?
I feel like you're going to tell me, so let's hear it.
Make it look like a 911, Evan.
Just make it look fat. Shove a bunch of shit in the corners and bulge it out.
I think it's a much better looking car. However, I will say now that it's a better looking car, it might be the only Porsche that you need to buy.
It's the only one anyone can afford.
No, they put the engine in the right place.
Okay.
And now it's not a butterface car anymore.
You think it's that bad?
I think it's really ugly. I think it's close to Audi TT. And I don't want to start a fight.
No. I disagree with that, but
I think this is a really good sports car. I don't think it's an attractive sports car.
The good news is, what did you say was your favorite part of this car? The interior. When you're driving it, you don't see what it looks like.
Yeah, I think hands down, it is the car to own. We're going to make predictions. Hang on, everybody. At the end of the show, we're going to make some predictions on what these cars should sell for.
Sure.
Do you want to see what's next?
Yes. That's why I'm here.
So we're going from one car that I think is ugly to a car you think is ugly. Yeah, tell us about the 2020 Mercedes-AMG GT C Roadster, a whole mouthful.
Yeah, I mean, 1,700 miles is pretty nice. Similar to the Cayman, it does have the very small spoiler that raises at a set speed.
It's like a little tongue.
Yeah, people love taking pictures with it up. I mean, it looks fine. These cars just don't really do anything for me. I'm not a convertible guy. Living in a city that you have all 4 seasons, it just doesn't appeal to me. The Cayman, I think, is, if we're going to compare the two, is a very practical 2-door car with not any back seat space. This is a little bit less practical to me, just in the setup. And again, I'm not a convertible guy. The car looks fine, but it's not anything that interests me.
Yeah, I think it's menacing looking. I think it's brutal.
It's menacing, but the roof's down, and then when you put it up, it's red.
That's part of the thing. It's like it's like flipping you the bird. It's like, hey, I'm menacing, but I also have red hair.
The red hair, it's no soul. It's got nothing. It's definitely quick. It definitely sounds. I'm sure it sounds.
They sound amazing.
The pictures in a boat launch?
Oh yeah,
Jersey. Go to the pictures.
This is a tough guy down by the dock. It's like, hey, I'm gonna on my lunch break. Before we unload the next boat, I'm gonna take some pictures of this car.
It's a dealer car. Yeah. So they just said we're gonna go down by the. They got the leaf.
Fucking leaf in there.
This is not a well presented. The best part about this car is that someone's gonna get a killer deal on it because nobody's gonna look at the auction.
Yeah.
And whoever actually wants this car is looking for it, and they'll find it, and it has 1,700 miles. On a 5-year-old car.
Right.
And they're going to get a steal because this car's in immaculate condition. If they're anywhere on the East Coast, they can just go to Jersey and drive it home. Yeah.
Speaking of going to Jersey.
Sure.
Unless your name is Max Hoffman or Luigi Canetti, don't put your name on my car, especially Joshua Motor Cars. Yeah. And so I actually had to look this up because maybe I don't know who he is. Maybe I'm the problem. So I go and look up Joshua Motor Cars. And this is corner lot over here. Sorry to selling a Camry to somebody. Like, and it's a big deal. It's like, don't put that sticker on this wonderful car.
Hey, look, you know,
it looks like a diner.
Yeah, it's a shit ass Jersey diner.
I'll have the chili, and he's got the rag top down so his 3 hairs can blow. So anyway, this car has carbon fiber all over the place. This is one of the facelifted AMG GTCs. The C had more power than the regular one.
You know, you're going to need all of it.
Yeah.
When you're going to the salon and back, you know.
This car, guess how much horsepower this car had?
Oh,
it's a twin turbo V8.
Okay. Does it start with a 6?
It does not.
Does it start with a 4?
It does not. It's 550.
Wow. All right. That's pretty good. Oh, look, JMCC Auto.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Perfect. Another sticker.
What do you think about fake exhaust?
All right.
Tips?
So is that fake? Because the one in the back is split. It just doesn't connect. Fake?
To me, it's fake.
550 horsepower. The interior does look good. I like that.
I mean, it's a Mercedes. They're not going to mess up the interior.
Yeah. It's just nothing about this car interests me.
Would you take this or an SL?
The R129 is a classic. I do like the one right after. I don't know the...
Me too.
But like the SL600 from that like 2003
yes.
or 5.
I agree.
It has to be black though, because I think all the other colors, hardtop convertible contraption shows too much.
You know, I kind of feel like if anything broke on this car, the parts would be so expensive, you'd have to ask yourself, did they mine these parts from minerals that they gathered from the surface of Mars?
Yeah.
Like, this shit's going to be expensive.
Better or worse than the Diablo?
As far as expense, pass. I don't think, I don't. All right, while we're talking about the Mercedes.
Of course.
Most menacing smile.
It's up there. The front looks good, but it doesn't do anything for me.
We're going to make a prediction on this in just a minute.
Sure.
If you're liking any of this banter, give us a thumbs up.
You can let me know in the DMs of Street Park Everything. You should follow. Before you start, I added up the other night on bank statements how much I spent on each of my cars that I've ever owned. And the amount of money I spent on the 944, thank God I was living at home, because it was insane. The amount of things that...
You want to talk about that? Or are you embarrassed?
I'd rather not. It's just what it is. What it is.
All right. So next up, we have a 1986 Porsche 944 Turbo. This thing screams 1986 louder than any Tears for Fears album. What made you pick this car as was that your first enthusiast car?
Yeah. First enthusiast car.
What made you want it?
Yeah. Just always enjoyed the exterior view of the car. I think it makes the 924 look like it shouldn't exist. I remember coming back from New York and through Connecticut, I was behind one on the Merritt for a while. And just looking at it and thinking like, oh, that's an interesting car. There's nothing today that has that shape to it. I mean, maybe...
Was it red?
It was maroon.
I know that guy.
I'm sure you do. Had a Beware Student Driver sticker on the bright yellow one on the back. I thought that fit well. They were enjoying the car the way that someone would on the Merritt. And it looks good. But yeah, I mean, these are a lot of fun. They can be a horrendous money pit, and they're getting to the point where parts can be hard to find depending on what it is.
I really like the shape of these two, and I don't even mind the second worst steering wheel in all of the automotive world. I think it looks fine here.
I'm a fan of the wheel.
I think it gives you a really good view of this.
Yeah.
This gauge is perfect. Anything beyond this, we weren't making progress at that point. Right. I think, look at this. The restraint somebody showed to not drive those 4 extra miles. But did you read the auction?
Yeah.
This odometer was repaired.
It's a very common 944 problem, because
it's a very used car problem.
To the right of the gauges, look on that picture. Yeah, that one. All right, you see how you have the 2 adjusters for the main vents? Go to the left. Do you see how there's one on the little tiny vent there?
Yes.
That middle one, it doesn't adjust the vents. You press that to reset the trip odometer. If you press that when the cars are rolling, all the gears shred. So that's why a lot of these have a rebuilt odometer.
I didn't know that. Do you know what goes in here?
Cassettes.
Yeah, I even like the back seats. I don't want to sit there.
Yeah.
I just love the shape of them.
The back seats are cool. The tops will fold down, so you get even more space in the back.
Even more space?
Very practical car.
Would you call this more practical than an AMG GTC?
Yes, absolutely. Liability might be questionable, It is questionable, but for total space, yeah, more practical.
I think the 80s-ness of the interior is magnificent. What year was yours?
It was an 86, but it was
86.
not a turbo.
Okay.
I would love to drive a turbo one just to see what that feels like. I've heard from some people it's not really that
Is that
engaging. I've
clutch
heard
paint
from
or
some.
Narcan? What is that?
No, I've heard different things on the turbo here.
How is
Okay.
turbo spool and lag?
Don't know. I'm sure it's a lot of fun if it's well sorted, but the problem with a lot of these cars is they've been so cheap for so long that they're not well sorted. And then you buy something for this, I think a current bid is around 20 grand or so. You could easily be at 10 with repairs.
This thing is in pretty decent shape underneath, right?
Yep, I agree. I think it looks good.
With $17,000 in recent service, do you think the previous owner's tiers come with the car?
I don't know. You get to a point with these cars that you're just ready to move on. The difference is the Cayman, I would definitely own another one. This, I don't know if I would, because now these are getting to the point price wise where even the current bid on this at like 15 or 16 grand, whatever it might be, is, yeah, almost 15. They're not that cheap anymore.
This is going to empty your wallet in style.
Yeah, I think the driving experience and the bargain that they once were to buy, and then you sort of just roll the dice on repairs is kind of ending. But you have to love the car. It's honestly like it's kind of like the poor man's Diablo in that sense, right? You have to go into it knowing just of the similar nature of like, I'm going into this and there's going to be repairs and you're going to just have to open your wallet potentially constantly. This one seems like it's well sorted. It's got low miles. What was it at 40,000 or so?
996.
Yeah.
Look at the prices. They're holding steady. I mean, this car's not going to go up in value, but
What happened in September that they shot? What's that little
Yep.
bump up? Go back September to October.
look at that 80 grand for that. It kind of bumps the average out of whack.
2,500 total miles unknown. So it's probably the odometer gears shred themselves when someone reset it. But 100 miles.
Must be in really great shape.
Look at that though. Previously sold 100,000. Bring a trailer. Now it's 80. You could lose 20 grand on any of these cars, even the best one.
Even the best one. So I've got a question for you.
Sure.
So in 1983, Callaway made 20 Callaway turbos, took the 944. They worked in conjunction with Porsche. They made about 285 horsepower, which was a lot in the day. Would you take a Callaway turbo, knowing how rare they are, or a factory turbo when they finally came out with an 87, I think, right?
Yeah, or 86, because this was an 86. I would just take the factory one, and there's two reasons. One, the early cars had the impact bumper that you see on the one on the left side of the screen, which I presume is a Callaway
Correct.
turbo.
It is. Good guess.
Also, the 85.5 to 91 had the interior that we both like.
Okay. All right. Would you take 944 factory turbo or 968 turbo?
I've never driven a 968 turbo, but I think it would just feel a little bit quicker on acceleration, but largely the exact same car. I do like the design though. I like the headlights. It fits very well with the 993. And when they're popped up, they have the like cone on the back.
Yeah. Like a 928.
Yeah, I don't love those. But I don't know. I'd potentially pick the 968.
I've got one last question. And if you get this correct, we will validate your parking. What was the first car in the United States offered with driver and passenger airbags?
Can you give me the country of origin of the car?
German.
It was German. Was it an E6 M3?
It was 944 turbo.
Was it really?
It was.
In what year? 90? Has to be.
That's a good question. I think we got to actually look that up.
Wow.
87?
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Actually, you heard it there first.
What's it there first?
The Google
The
thing.
AI overview.
So we are moving on to our penultimate vehicle, the 1993 GMC Typhoon, nicknamed Typhoon Mary. Were you born in 1993?
No. I've never seen these cars in pictures.
So you're not familiar with Drug Pusher White. Do you know the story of the Typhoon?
No, dude.
How about the Cyclone? Okay. 92, 93. These were GMC products. They took an S10 pickup and an S10 Blazer and put in a 4.3 liter turbo charged engine from a Buick, automatic transmission. In the 92, 93 model year, there were 532 produced in frost white. These things were factory rated at 285 horsepower, but they actually probably had close to 330, 340 horsepower. These things are incredibly fast. They were so fast. The reason that they downplayed the power of this engine was that the Corvette was putting out something similar in 330, right. So this couldn't overshadow that. But do you remember before when I said the world's second ugliest steering wheel?
Yeah.
This is the first.
Yeah.
This is so bad.
This is horrible.
What do you think of the stance?
I think the stance is good. I'm most drawn to the all-white grille at the front. I like that.
I think they look best in black.
I like the white.
Well, this could be yours. It's a shame about the bumper.
Right now.
Yeah, they did 0 to 60 in like low fives, which in 1993, I know you weren't born. It was incredible. It was like magic. Yeah, like the torque on this was like wild. It was like 350, 380, something like that. Now you might think this peel and stick emblem is a cost savings measure, but no, somebody didn't make it on Canva. This was kind of cool at the time that the graphics were like that rather than a hard-edged emblem. If you drive one of these, you probably have prison tattoos.
If OJ had one of these, he might have gotten away.
I don't know if you saw the interior of this, but there's more black leather in here than a Diddy freak off. Pass the baby oil. Now, did you see these, quote, sports seats? These are the sports seats that, like, Peter Griffin would design. This gathered leather, I think that's awful.
It looks like a Park Ave, like all the back
oh, my
seats and
goodness.
everything.
It looks like a 911 with supple leather. Now, this is a back seat. It's a two-door. The second GMC that we're going to show is also a two-door. It's a two-door Yukon. This steering wheel is so bad. What's worse, that the wheel or the speedometer behind it?
Forget the speedometer. The tach is a down and around red line at the top. The turbo gauge is kind of exciting. I like that. This also has the same feel of the interior. It makes sense, but of an H1 Hummer. Everything's just very, it's a grid. You could build this interior in Excel if you had to, and they probably did.
They probably did. Your mileage, your odometer is front and center. Your trip odometer, they're right there with you. It might as well be a clock. Yeah. And this has everything you need. So you've got your cigarette lighter, your rear window defroster, your
two things you go for most.
Your equalizer, and also your add-on CD changer. But these are the things you usually package together.
You know how to light a cigarette and what time it is.
Yeah.
So if it couldn't get any worse, here's the air conditioning controls.
Right. And so this is from a time when Americans could read, yet they were afraid of HVAC icons. Yeah. Like, which way is the air going? It would say things like bi-level, which I'm not sure I ever knew what bi-level meant as a kid looking at the interiors of GM products. Do you know where this is? This is in Lunenburg. It's like 40 minutes from. We get in the car. We can go take a look at this thing tonight.
We could. It's the same parking lot where that Corvette was.
Yeah, gravel driveway.
Yeah.
This is when tailgates went down and windows went up.
Yep.
The good old days.
And the spare tire sitting right there.
That's right.
When you need it.
That's right.
I like that they peel it back so you know that it's actually in there.
Yeah, this is the real thing. Genuine.
Yeah.
Spare tire.
Engine bay looks good. It's in good shape.
Yeah, this vehicle is pretty clean. I think, how many miles did we say this thing had on it?
I think it was 40,000. Do I want to say?
49.
49. There you go. Yeah, I think it looks great. These have been kind of trending up recently.
Well, we happen to have some sales data that we can take a look at. Yeah. There have been some bright points the past year.
But, like, click on the one, the black one. Yeah, not that one. To the right and down. Like, that's very comparable to this car. I was looking at that one earlier this year. $28,000. This is 22 right now for the bid. Yeah.
So 22. So we're going to see. So that's Bring a Trailer data, classic.com data. Actually shows a downward trend. The downward trend is only influenced by this one that went for 226. And I think this was that Lingenfelter
that's
model.
226 this year.
Oh, but look at the mileage.
It's still a GMC truck. It's the same thing with the R34 Skylines. It's a Nissan.
More than one person wanted it, apparently.
Those two people need to be in an insane asylum.
Oh, with this baby, it'll take you there.
Yeah. Quickly too.
quickly.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about now our last vehicle. Back to this. All right, so our last car.
By pure chance is also a
Yeah.
two-door GMC.
I mean, and so we didn't share, like,
No,
you just,
we
there's
just
this
each happen to pick two
a
sports cars
coincidence.
and two.
Yeah, two low mileage
Yeah.
GMC. So this one has 22,000 miles. This was a two-door Yukon. Two-door SUVs in the 90s were a thing, apparently.
Same amount of bolstering in this one.
I actually think the Typhoon was just a little bit better. Look at that stellar gas mileage. Add those two together and you get 30. Let's look at some pictures here. This thing's got the shape of a refrigerator. But I have to say, at the time, and I know you weren't born yet in 98, 97 when this thing came out.
It's 97. I was here.
Okay.
I was here and ready to buy. 96.
96. Okay, so do you see the way this glass is flush mounted with this piece of trim? That was a big deal. I mean, this was maybe the first vehicle that I ever saw that did that. So like the trim sort of disappears,
Yeah.
especially how it's tinted. When you see a 3/4 view of it, which we'll see in a second, it looks like one blob.
Rad
Yeah.
back. Yeah, exactly.
And this is a really great condition vehicle here. I'm not saying it's a great car that I'd want to own, but it is certainly a time capsule.
I would gladly own this.
Like you'd own this if you were cosplaying fire marshal.
I would own this in any scenario under the sun. Two-door car, selfishly, city life, this would be very easy to street park.
It's too nice to street park.
This one's too nice. I think this one's gonna go for a lot, and
Me
I know
too.
we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
This car is great.
I agree. I agree. So, and I think one of the reasons that the value of this thing is that there's some nostalgia with this because these were everywhere back in the day, and I think people like these. If you can buy this for $40,000, it has 22,000 miles on it. It's kind of like a new car. I could see somebody saying, "Well, I can buy a new GMC for 75, or I can buy this thing for 40, and I feel kind of cool again." That's what I'm thinking.
This is the perfect nostalgia car for someone that said, I know it's a two-door, but, you know, I grew up in the back seat, or my dad had one, or my older brother had one, or my
Exactly.
older sister, or whoever. You know, my dad gave it to my brother, sister, whatever.
All right, enough with the stories. We get it.
And
Lots of torque. Again, it has a V8 engine and had 250 horsepower, which today it just sounds adorable, doesn't it? A truck with only 250 horsepower.
I wish the pictures were better. And these pictures could be as good as the Diablo.
You see the mileage, 22,000. So the state of Maryland has branded the title actual. So sometimes a title will be branded with rebuilt or salvage. Here, somebody has verified that these are real miles. I think that's going to help the price, obviously.
I just don't think you're gonna find another one with that in this condition with that low of miles.
Yeah, we just hope that there's more than one person who wants it.
Yeah.
So before we jump into our predictions, I got to ask you, who wore it better? So this is a two-door Ford Explorer Sport, which I think the proportions are awful, or this Jimmy.
It's tough. The Jimmy definitely looks better. The Explorer is very period, and I think that it holds its own in that regard. There's no mistaking it for what it is.
Trash.
Just a classic SUV.
Okay. All right.
I don't really have any interest in owning one.
All right, so we're going to do our predictions now. First up is the Lamborghini.
Do you want to change your?
No.
Okay.
I have the confidence of a man who knows what he's doing. I have the confidence of a man who's fathered children. First up, we've got Lamborghini Diablo. I thought this was going to go for $475. You say $515. We're going to find out in a couple days' time. This is going to air on Sunday morning. We're recording it on the Wednesday before.
You got to watch last week's episode to find out.
You got to watch. That's right.
Watch, subscribe,
and like.
We're
relatively close on this. You're a little bit richer than I am on this. All right. Our 15,000 mile 2008 Cayman. I think this is going for 29. I know it's a nice car, but like right now, what's it, at 10 grand? We've got 4 days left.
4 days left. It's not great.
And there's not a ton of action in the comments there.
No. Somebody getting this for sub 30 would be fantastic. If there's no activity, you don't believe there's a reserve on it. So that's perfect. There shouldn't be.
But you're optimistic and you want it to go for more.
I think it could. Being the low miles, an early Cayman, first one that they came out with, uh, 15,000 miles was pretty low. Comparable auctions out there are high 20s,
Okay.
low 30s. I don't think 37 is crazy given the low miles.
All right, next we have the 1,700 mile 2020 AMG GTC Roadster. We were close on this,
Yeah.
within 5% of each other. I said 94, you said 99. This is a car that you despise.
Yeah. I think someone will pay it. I just don't know who it is, and it's not
Okay.
me.
Right. Next up, we had the 944 Turbo. You came in strong on this.
This one I'm most concerned about. I think the Cayman speaks for itself, and people know those cars. The Diablo is obvious. The AMG is a modern car from it's 5 years old. It has no miles. It's essentially brand new in that regard. This one I think I'm most likely to get wrong. This car could sell for 20 or it could sell for 40. I have no idea. It's tough to gauge.
Right. That's why I went right in the middle. Next, we had the first of our two GMCs. We had this Yukon. So we were really close on this,
Yeah.
within $1,000 of each other. I think it's going for like 40. You think it's going for 41?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Lastly, we had our Typhoon Mary. I said 31,750. You said 36,700.
I think that's about where they are. I think you're noticing with the GMCs too that a very clean Yukon, I mean, for whatever our two opinions are worth, is very similar in price to a Typhoon,
Yeah.
right? And where we think it might rank.
However, the Typhoon should be a much more special vehicle because it was a special car in the day, whereas these guys were just regular cars. However, I think there's going to be nostalgia on this, and
Yeah.
Typhoons just, even though they're special, they just don't command big dollars.
I think the difference is the supply and demand is that
Huh.
Typhoons were special from the beginning, so
Right.
they
It's
were
not
not a
hard to
thrown
find
away,
one.
right.
Yeah.
It's not a daily driven, thrown away car. These were used every day, right? People bought them, used them, maybe took them off road, maybe took them camping. This kind of just sat in someone's garage for the past, what, 30 years?
Right.
That's more rare than a Typhoon.
We've logged our bids. Next week, you're going to be able to see how we performed. So, everybody out there, tune in next week, see how we did. But the show's not over because we have a feature that we call Daily Flip Coffin. And what this means is we're going to pick one of the cars that we looked at today and say, hey, this is something that I would daily. And then we're going to look at another one and say, hey, this is the least likely car for me to ever own. I don't want it anywhere near me. I would flip it as soon as I could. And the last choice is, this is a car I'd want to keep forever, a car I'd want to be buried in. So you're the guest. You get to go first. What would you want a daily?
I'm gonna daily the Cayman, as I have in the past. It's a great car, great
Yeah,
daily,
it's a good choice.
practical, reliable, fun. It's kind of the perfect package of
What would you flip? What is the car that you like least out of everything here?
the AMG.
I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah, I think the impractical nature of it and being a convertible and with the low miles, I think you're gonna make the most on the flip. You're not gonna get the flip value out of it.
Yeah, I think you're looking at this too rationally. This is just
I'm
an
working
emotional
with what you
game.
told me.
An emotional game.
Yeah,
All right. So which is the car that you'd want to be buried in?
the Diablo.
Yeah. All right. So that's your lineup: the Cayman, the AMG, and the Diablo.
And what about you?
We are similar on this because
Yeah.
I said I'd want a daily the Cayman because the Cayman, I believe, is just about the perfect sports car. Other than it being ugly, I wouldn't say that's the thing. Is like I like a Cayman. I would just have to close my eyes as I walked up to it.
Sure. Do you like any generation?
Yeah, the latest one.
You don't like the middle one, the
Middle one's good.
okay.
It's good.
It's just the first one. So
Yes.
you're okay with the
970, the 718.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, sure, sure.
All right. So as far as flipping,
That's a good flip.
I never liked these. I don't want this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too nice.
It's
Too nice.
right. I don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Get it away from me.
And you're gonna be buried in the Diablo, naturally.
That's right. We were really close on this. So the only thing we disagreed on was the flip.
Really, the only thing we disagreed on was the AMG, because I kinda share your opinions with this. You
Yeah.
like the AMG.
I do. I would drive that, but I only got 3 choices there. I probably wouldn't
Sure.
daily it. I love the way it sounds, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thank you very much for coming on. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you had a good time.
Had a great time.
So we're going to wrap up the show there. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. And as always, speed safely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was great.